Hello everyone, welcome back. And today we are going to cover the rest of the topics of microorganisms, that is your friend and foe of class 8 science. So today we will study first topic, that is harmful microorganisms. Now in our previous video we discussed about the useful microbes and how they are useful to us, and we have cited some examples also. So coming to harmful microorganisms, now you can see in the pictures also, these microorganisms, they are known as pathogens. Pathogens means the disease causing organisms. So the microorganisms, they are harmful in many ways. Fine. Some of the microorganisms, they cause diseases in human beings, plants and animals also. Such disease causing microorganisms, they are called as pathogens. Some microorganisms, they will spoil our food, some will spoil our clothes and leather also. So these are harmful ones. Next is disease causing microorganisms in case of humans. How the organisms, they are harmful to us. Pathogens, they enter your body through the air we breathe, the water we drink or the food we eat. They can also get transmitted means transfer, by direct contact with an infected person. That the term which is used for direct contact is communicable diseases. These diseases are caused by the direct contact of infected person to a healthy one. So these are communicable diseases. So microbial diseases that can spread from infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food or physical contact, they are called communicable diseases. Examples of such diseases include cholera, common cold, chickenpox and tuberculosis. So here some diseases are caused by bacteria and some are caused by viruses also. So when a person suffering from common cold, this you have observed in your daily life also, that whenever someone who is suffering from common cold, it sneezes or you are standing in aside to them, then what happens? You might also get infected with same or you may get viral infection also. So why this happens? Because it acts as a communicable disease. The droplets from that person, when it sneezes or it opens his mouth, that droplets, that germs in his body, they can enter into your, and in this way the transmission of disease occur and you might get also infected. So when a person suffering from common cold sneezes, the fine droplets of moisture carrying thousands of viruses are spread in the air. These viruses may enter the body of a healthy person while breathing, and this way the healthy person is also affected and also infected by the same disease. Next is small insects of disease. Now there are some insects also which are causing some diseases. So there are some insects and animals which act as carriers of disease causing microbes. Housefly is one such carrier. So housefly is common fly which is observed in your homes daily. So it is one of the most important carrier of disease. The flies sit on the garbage and animal excreta. Pathogens stick to their bodies, and when these flies, they will sit on an uncovered food, they might transfer the pathogens from that food to nude on which it is sitting now. So whoever eats the contaminated food is likely to get sick. Fine. So it is always advised to always keep the food covered at all the places, and we should not eat the food or any other eatable item which is not covered anywhere, whether in restaurants or at your homes or any other places. Avoid consuming uncovered items of food as it might be infected by your pathogens. Another example of a carrier is the female Anopheles mosquito. So this is the name of the mosquito which causes a disease called malaria in human beings. So it is the carrier of parasite of malaria. Similarly, other mosquito is there, that is female Aedes mosquito, which acts as the carrier of dengue virus. Dengue disease you have all might have listened, and similarly this malaria disease. So these diseases are caused by our mosquitoes, that is female Anopheles mosquito that causes malaria, and female Aedes mosquito that causes dengue virus. All mosquitoes, they breed in water, we all know. Hence one should not let water collect anywhere. There should not be stagnant. Stagnant means standing water anywhere, because if water will be collected at one place, then it might be infected by pathogens, because some insects are there which are developing in that stagnant water only. So there should not be standing water in coolers, also in tires, flower pots, etc. By keeping the surroundings clean and dry, fine, we can prevent these mosquitoes from breeding. Why? Because these mosquitoes, they mostly act on dirty water where there is standing water. So if we will keep our surroundings and environment clean, then there is no chance of such mosquitoes to feed upon. Now please, you have to make a list of measures which will help to avoid the spread of malaria, and comment in the comment box. Now this is the picture you can see of female Anopheles mosquito. Now next is some common human diseases which are caused by microorganisms. So first disease is tuberculosis. And which microorganism caused this disease? It is a bacteria. So it is a bacterial disease. And how this disease is transferred? It is transferred through air. And what are the preventive measures which you can adopt in order to keep yourself away from this disease? So you have to keep the patient in complete isolation. He will not be allowed to be in contact with a healthy person. Then keep the personal belongings of the patient away from those of the others. Then vaccination should be given at a suitable age, so that he will not be get infected to that disease. So these are some of the measures which you can adopt. Second disease is your measles. Measles caused by virus. It is a viral disease, and it is also transferred through air. So the preventive measures which you can adopt is same, that you should be in isolation, you should take vaccine also, and you should keep away the belongings, the materials of that infected person away from healthy ones. Next is your chickenpox disease. It is also caused by virus, and it is transferred through air or direct contact with the infected person. Then fourth is your polio. Polio is also a virus, and it is also transferred through air, and direct contact is not there. But in previous times, people thought it to be caused by direct contact, but this is not so. It is not a mode of transmission. It is caused by your air and water. Next disease is cholera. Cholera is bacterial disease, and it is transferred through water and food which is contaminated. Then is your typhoid. Typhoid is also a disease which is caused by bacteria, and it is transferred through dirty water, stagnant water. You have might have listened about that typhoid fever is there. This happens because of this virus only. Now, what are the preventive measures you should adopt? You have to maintain a personal hygiene first, because if your environment is not clean, your surroundings is not clean, then you might be get infected, because this virus, it acts on dirty environment only, dirty water, stagnant water. So good sanitary habits you should adopt. Then consume properly cooked food and boiled drinking water. the first and the foremost thing is boiled drinking water. Your water should be boiled because boiling kills most of the bacteria in it. Then vaccination is the third criteria. You should be vaccinated also. Then next is hepatitis B disease. It is caused by virus and the mode of transmission is water. Now, what are the preventive measures which you should adopt? You should drink boiled drinking water because it kills most of the bacteria. Boiling water is very good for your health. Rather, I will suggest you to drink boiling water only every day. And then second is your vaccination. Next is your human disease, which is malaria. It is also caused by your microorganism, which is a protozoa. So it is a protozoan disease, and which was the name of the bacteria which was the name of the protozoa which was causing malaria. It was the mosquito, and the name of the mosquito was female Anopheles mosquito. So the transmission is through mosquito. So mosquito act as your carrier of this disease. So what are the preventive measures? So you should use mosquito nets and repellents so that mosquito will not come near to you. Spray insecticides and control breeding of mosquitoes by not allowing water to collect in the surroundings. So there should not be stagnant water, standing water, because these kind of mosquito, they also act on the standing water. So several microorganisms, they also cause disease in plants also, fine. So disease causing microorganisms in plants like wheat, rice, potato, sugarcane, orange, apple and others. So diseases are also caused in plants due to microorganisms, and these diseases, they will reduce the yield of crop because they are acting on the plant now. So if they will act on plant, then what effect will they cause to plants? They will reduce the yield of that crop. They can be controlled by the use of certain chemicals. The farmers can use certain chemicals which will kill the growth of these microorganisms, these microbes, and they will not act on the plants. So now some of the plant diseases which are caused by these microorganisms. First is your citrus cancer. So this is one disease which is caused by the microorganism called bacteria. And how it is transmitted? It is transmitted through air. Then second is your rust of wheat, which is a very common disease in plants. It is caused by fungi and it is transmitted through air and seeds. Then is your yellow vein mosaic of bhindi, that is okra. This is also one disease of plant and it is caused by a virus. And how it is transferred? It is transmitted through insect. So these are some of the plant diseases which we should be aware of. Now next is your chemical methods which can be used to check the growth of these microorganisms which are acting on plants, and they are reducing the growth of that plants. So salts and edible oils are the common chemicals which are generally used to check the growth of these organisms. Therefore, they are called as preservatives. So the term preservatives is given to such chemicals. We add salt or acid preservatives to pickles also in our homes to prevent the attack of microbes. You might have noticed that the pickles we make at our homes, they are preserved in vinegar, in salt and sugar also. So these materials, they act as preservatives, and in this way they will prevent the attack of microbes into it, and the pickle will last very long. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfite, they are common preservatives. These are also used in the jams and squashes to check their spoilage. So this is one of the chemical method which is done by salt and oils. Now next preservation is done by common salt, which is your NaCl, that is Sodium chloride. So common salt has been used to preserve meat and fish for ages. So it has been observed that meat and fish, they can be preserved for ages if we kept it in common salt. Meat and fish are covered with dry salt to check the growth of bacteria. Salting is also used to preserve amla, raw mangoes, tamarind, etc. So you can notice also that some people who eat fish and meat, before cooking it, they dry that meat and fish in open air and by applying the common salt on it. In this way they help in the preservation of that material and they can cook afterwards. Next is preservation by oil and vinegar. Vinegar was your acetic acid. Use of oil and vinegar prevents the spoilage of pickles because bacteria will not be able to act in such an environment, in such a acidic environment, because acetic acid act as your acid. So vegetables, fruits, fish and meat, they are often preserved by this kind of method. The oil and vinegar is applied on them. So next preservation can be done by sugars also. Jams, jellies and squashes, they are preserved by sugars, by adding sugars into them. Then sugar, what it do? It reduces the moisture content which will inhibit the growth of bacteria which are spoiling your food. So in this way we can preserve our food by adding sugar into it. Next is your heat and cool treatments which can be given. You might have observed your mother boiling milk before it is stored or used. Boiling kills many microorganisms, you all know. Similarly, we keep our food in the refrigerator also because it will provide cold treatment to it, and the low temperature will inhibit the growth of disease causing microorganism. And in this way, by providing hot and cold treatments to our food items, we can prevent the growth of microorganism. And next is Louis Pasteur and pasteurization. Now this is one of the method which we will study now, that what is pasteurization, and this term was given by a scientist called Louis Pasteur. So Louis Pasteur was a French biologist, microbiologist because he studied microorganisms, and chemist who renowned for his discoveries of the principles of vaccination, microbial fermentation and pasteurization. So he described all these processes. He is remembered for his remarkable breakthroughs in the causes and prevention of diseases, and his discoveries have saved many lives ever since. So this is one of the brief description about Louis Pasteur. He reduced mortality from puerperal fever and created the first vaccine for rabies and anthrax also. So these are the diseases for which he prepared vaccines. His medical discoveries provided direct support for the germ theory of disease and its application in the clinical medicine. He is the best known to the general public for his invention of the technique of treating milk and wine to stop bacterial contamination, a process now called pasteurization. So he is regarded as one of the three main founders of bacteriology, together with Ferdinand Kohn and Robert Koch, and is popularly known as the father of microbiology. So you all should know that who was the father of microbiology. So now what is pasteurization? Pasteurized milk can be consumed without boiling as it is now free from harmful microbes. The milk is heated to about 700 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly it is chilled and stored. By doing so, it will prevent the growth of microbes, and this process is known as pasteurization, and it was discovered by Louis Pasteur. So how storage and packing is done now? So these days dry fruits and even vegetables, they are sold in sealed airtight packets. Why? Because by doing so it will prevent the attack of microbes on it. Fine. So after we have produced the pasteurized milk or other items, we have to do storage and packing of materials also. Why? Because after doing storage and packing, the microbes will not be able to attack on it. So now coming to next topic, that is nitrogen fixation, that how nitrogen is fixed from the atmosphere and how the action of microorganisms take place and how the useful nitrogenous compounds are formed. So this is the cycle which we will discuss in detail. Now you have learnt about the bacteria, rhizobium bacteria. So that bacteria, it is present in the root nodules of certain leguminous plants such as your peas and all, and these kind of bacteria, it helps in the fixation of nitrogen, and it is involved in these processes. So the rhizobium bacteria, it lives in the root nodules of plants such as beans and peas, including pulses, with which, why it lives? Because it has a symbiotic relationship with each other. Sometimes nitrogen gets fixed through the action of lightning, but you know that the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains constant. So why it remains constant? So it remains constant because of this topic that we will study now, that is nitrogen fixation. So our atmosphere has 78% nitrogen gas. You all know the quantity of nitrogen that is present. It is 78%. Nitrogen is one of the essential constituents of all living organisms as a part of proteins, chlorophyll, nucleic acids and vitamins. It is present in all these components. The atmospheric nitrogen cannot be taken directly by plants and animals because it is present in complex form. So first it has to be fixed and then it is taken by plants and animals. So how its fixation is done? Certain bacteria and blue-green algae are there which are present in the soil. They will fix the nitrogen from the atmosphere and will convert into compounds of nitrogen. Once the nitrogen is converted into these usable compounds, now it can be utilized by plants from the soil through their root system, because root system is present within the soil. So nitrogen is then used for the synthesis of plant proteins and other compounds. Animals feeding on these plants get these proteins and other nitrogen compounds. So later on, when the plants and animals, they will die, bacteria and fungi which are present in the soil, now they will convert these nitrogenous waste into useful nitrogenous compounds which are later to be used by plants again, because they want these nutrients for them. So certain other bacteria, they will convert some part of them to nitrogen gas which will go back into the atmosphere, and as a result this cycle will continue. So the percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains more or less constant, because a certain amount of nitrogen is fixing and then that is converting back into compounds, and then again this cycle continues. So in this way nitrogen is fixing, and this is called nitrogen cycle. You can see in the cycle, atmospheric nitrogen is there, then lightning is there which fixes the nitrogen from the atmosphere, then it mixes with the compounds of nitrogen in the soil, and then bacteria will turn these compounds of nitrogen into gaseous nitrogen. Similarly, from the compounds of nitrogen, plants will take these nitrogen compounds through root hairs, through root system, and then these plants will be eaten by the animals, and after the death of animals, the nitrogenous waste will be taken from the excretion of these animals. So next can be your nitrogen fixing by bacteria and other blue-green algae. Then these bacteria will turn atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds, and these nitrogenous compounds will go into the soil. So in this way, this whole cycle continues and continues again and again. So what important we have discussed in this chapter. So some of the important keywords are there. First we talked about algae, what are algae. Then we talked about antibiotics, antibodies. Antibiotics were there which were given to prevent any disease. Fine. Then antibodies which were prepared by the body in response to disease causing organism. Then bacteria are there. We discussed about how bacteria lives and what are the shapes of bacteria. Then carriers, what are carriers, which transfer a disease from healthy infected person to a healthy one. Then communicable diseases which are caused by direct contact. Then fermentation process which is done by your yeast, and it helps in the production of alcohol, wine, and for bakery products also, which helps in the softness of these products. Then next is fungi, which is also a microorganism. Then lactobacillus, it is a type of bacteria which helps in the preparation of curd from milk. Then next is microorganisms. This chapter was whole about microorganisms. The microorganisms, they are very small, and where they live and what they eat, what they feed upon. So what is the cycle of microorganisms? This we all have studied. Next is your nitrogen cycle. What is nitrogen cycle and how nitrogen fixation is done. Then what was pasteurization, and what are pathogens, which are disease causing microorganisms. Then preservation, that how food is preserved. We have discussed about various methods. First was your chemical method, then preservation by common salt, then preservation by oil, preservation by your vinegar also. So these were some of the preservation methods. Next is your protozoa. So protozoa are the microorganisms which causes your disease called malaria. It is caused by a protozoan called female Anopheles mosquito. Next is your rhizobium, which is a bacteria present in the root nodules of leguminous plants and helps in the fixation of nitrogen. Next is vaccine. Vaccine is given as an injection which helps in the process of vaccination and helps in the process of preventing a disease. Next is viruses, then yeast. So these are the important keywords which we are aware of now and we have discussed in this chapter. So this was all about our today's session. I hope you all have understood very clearly. If you are watching my video and you have not subscribed to my channel, please go to the description link and please click on the subscription button. Thank you so much.